Hello everybody and welcome to Profit Mission Control. This is Matt Trader coming to you Sunday, February 10th, 2016 or 2019, and wanted to go today over the weekly recap for the first week we completed on the $50,000 challenge. This is a challenge that I just started February 5th, so the idea there, if you haven't seen the last video, is to try and drive for capital growth. So I intend to take $50,000 and grow it substantially larger over the next year or two. And I want you to join me along the way. I will be reporting at least weekly, if not semi-weekly. And today we had a very slow, sort of choppy week. So I only traded Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, pretty much on a few stocks that were on the launch list as launch list candidates. So I'm going to go through some of those trades today and walk you through them as I always do. We ended up the week in the green. So the first week ended up in green, which is good, banking about $720. And we'll go and talk through some of these setups. And before I do so, I definitely want to share with you guys this sale that is going on with Trade Ideas. So Trade Ideas is the primary software that I use to scan for the overnight launch list stock candidates. And I could not have done this entire process or experienced this growth without a lot of the insight that Trade Ideas provides. Now, obviously, I've made a lot of customized scanners that help me overnight for scanning, but that should be something you can strive to do as well. You can develop your own overnight scanners. You can develop your own intraday trading strategies. You can backtest those strategies and understand the statistical significance of those strategies and optimize them if you like to do so. Trade Ideas also is going to be one of the leading software tools for trading automation. They have a fantastic API or software that connects to the API of Interactive Brokers, and intraday you can use that for managing all kinds of trades from your intraday strategies, as well as from Holly, which is the artificial intelligence tool or engine that Trade Ideas also has, and you get as part of your subscription to Trade Ideas. So right now you can go and grab 15% using code GetHollyIdeas, and you can follow this link. The link will also be available below this video. So bit.ly/Holly4U. That should take you to the products page, and you can explore more and understand what kind of advantages this wonderful tool can provide to you. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the trades. So this week we had a total of 6 launches, so not a whole lot. I mean, before I was averaging roughly about 15 to 20 launches a week. Now, like I said, this week I'm starting a new challenge, so I'm starting slow. I'm taking it easy. I'm not jumping in too many launches. I'm very picky about my overnight picks. And in addition to that, the market itself has been showing the first time since the beginning of January, or I would say December's low, which was Christmas Eve, we are seeing the very first time a pullback. It's a relatively healthy pullback. I don't see it as anything worth panicking about yet, but then the caution was warranted, and that's why I didn't trade much, especially that I wanted to make sure that I ended the week in the green. So with 6 launches, 4 winners, 2 losers, it puts us at an accuracy of 67%. I initially planned for a profit to risk of 113%, ended up with about 92%. So not very strong there, but still ended up overall in the green. If you look at the profit per share, it was about 68 cents per share. That means if you take 1,000 shares, for example, per trade, you end up with about $680 of profit. And the profit factor overall is 1.85, which is the net overall profit for all the trades divided by the net loss from the losing trades. We traded the 6 symbols ASB, MTW, DBX, TGI, MOD, and GMS. So let's go together and look at the chart and see how those stocks were actually picked, as well as how we decided on some of these and what happened with them. So let's look at first candidate we have here. So here's a table just for your information. So the first candidate was ASB. And ASB, I believe, was the first launch that triggered this in this actual 50K challenge. It came on the launch list here for February 1st, and the idea was to launch at 22.23, which is this level here, which is breaking the prior resistance of this day. The stock was definitely working on an uptrend all the way back from December 22nd, and has both had a crossover of the 5 over the 9 daily moving average. A lot of interesting consolidation here and another breakthrough. And then last year after the earnings, we had very strong volume growth as well. So it looked like it hit some level of resistance, pulled back, and then when I saw it here on the 4th, it looked like it was carving the upper hand or the upper side of a cup. So the idea there was if we broke this day's high, we would probably push at least to this pivot level to test the high and maybe a little bit further. So the idea entered 22.23, profit at 22.50, and abort at 21.98. Now, I did violate my stop loss on this one, and the reason was, so I entered here on the 5th, and if you notice, it hit the launch price as soon as the market opened, and then it pulled back all the way down, and it tested basically the 9-period moving average, violated the 5, tested the 9. But the reason why I held to it was because the stock was very strong. It was below average volume during that day, and the ATR on the stock is about 50 cents, and we had pulled down about 25 cents. I didn't have a whole lot of wiggle anyway on this, and my idea was to say, okay, I'm going to hold on to it. If it violates the 9-period moving average, then I'll definitely stop out. But it managed to pull back through the rest of the day and ended up closing above the abort price. And then the next day kind of had a sort of a flat day, and wasn't able to push to my profit target, but at the same time never violated the abort price again. And then on the 7th, we had a gap up, and I think a lot of the financials, I think there was a bank merger that day, so it helped with all bank stocks, and this one gapped up. Now, Thursday was frustrating because Thursday is the day I have a meeting, an important meeting at work that I usually don't see me trading on Thursday mornings because of that. And I left the command center not activated until I was done with my meeting. But during, right before the meeting, the market had opened, and I saw this gap up all the way to 22.94. Unfortunately, I couldn't take profit there, and I ended up taking profit at 22.61, which is still above my initial profit target at 22.50. So it gave me a good positive profit above my profit target, and then it pulled down after that. So it was a winning trade overall. I think this still has a lot of juice in it. Maybe after it pulls back, maybe a day or two more. There's nothing that indicates, at least at this point in the chart, that it wants to curl back. It looks more like it probably wants to test this gray area of 23.60, 23.70, which I would put it on my radar if I were you. Second stock was MTW. So MTW, and I'm talking about the winners for now. MTW came on the launch list on February 5th as well, and the idea there was to launch at 16.42, which is a break of the high of the prior day. And the reason why we like this stock is because, again, it was on uptrend, consolidating sideways, kind of curling down, and bam, we had a very strong day here, and it broke actually its 50-day moving average, which is a good thing. So the idea was to break this high of this candle and then push to the next pivot level, which would be somewhere around this level here, the low of this candle, which was a prior kind of support that got violated, maybe, you know, a few cents below that. So I was looking really for a move from 1642 to about 17, and abort at 1594, which would be, you know, kind of around the 50-day moving average again. So if it broke the 50-day moving average, then, you know, maybe this is not a right trade. So it ended up working out well. This is a case where I held on to 1694 and I got out on the same day. So basically it was kind of a move up to here. Didn't quite reach the 17 point, but ended up taking profit at 1694. Now I'm not sure if it actually ended up, so the high of this day was 1696, so, you know, 2 cents above it. It never reached the 17. The next day it actually did touch 1710 and then sold after that. So 17 seems to be the resistance at this point. Any break above 17 should push the stock through, I would say, 1720, 1730, 32 probably. Would push the stock at least to this pivot level of 1792, 1780 time frame, price range. So it's a very good stock. I bought it in my 401k. It looks like after earnings it pulled down a little bit. I still think it's healthy, kind of holding around all these average daily moving averages. So I'll give it some room, maybe to 15, 16, you know, 15, 26, 15, maybe all the way down to $15 before I stop out. But I think momentum potentially continues and it goes higher. Third stock was DBX, and DBX has been on my launch list for a long time, and the first time, it was the first day of my challenge. So this one came out actually on the February 1st, and the idea was to break the high of January 31st, which was why it came on the launch list the first place. Is you know, the 31st it came on the launch list. The idea was if it broke the high of this day, then it has potentially room to, you know, go all the way at least to the bottom of this candle, which is a prior support that got violated. So with that in mind, the next day it never triggered actually. In fact, it sold off pretty strongly, but then a lot of buyers came in, so with above average volume. So this tells me that this stock was in demand. It's just very choppy. Now, the first day it actually should have launched was on February 5th, and that's the day where I started my challenge, and I had 2 stocks already open, and I didn't want to necessarily start a third position during that day just to kind of keep things in check. Had I taken that trade, I would have actually made most of my profit, because I think it made it all the way to, if you look on this day, to 25.30. So I could have taken some profit. My goal there was to take profit at 25.50. So didn't trade it that day. The next day it was still kind of in the zone. Again, didn't trade that. And February 7th, also same thing, kind of was in the zone. Could have had an opportunity to trade it. I didn't. And then comes Friday, I took it because I didn't have a whole lot of other positions open. And I wanted to, and I told myself basically, all this wiggling here was kind of shaking out some of the buyers. It was trying to break this area, you know, hover around. So I said this time maybe is where it actually breaks, especially that it started with a sell-off down here and found support at the 9-day moving average, and then it was buying from there on all the way throughout the entire day. So I did enter at my launch price of $25.06, and the idea was to take profit at 25.53. It never actually reached the 25.53. It did reach close to 25.48, I believe. I ended up taking profit at 25.43. So, you know, didn't take the full profit window, but still healthy profit. And I don't know, this stock is still choppy. If it breaks 25.53 with conviction, you know, it has room probably to this area here, at least to 26.40 or so. And then it has a 200-day average to contest with. And then the last one, the winners, was TGI. So TGI came on the launch list here on the 8th. So this was a Friday candidate based on this huge move. This stock has been moving really high. It crossed the 200-day moving average. There was a lot of accumulation, and then it looks like it had very good earnings on the 7th. So it broke 200-day moving average and pushed higher and closed the day at the high. So there was enough momentum there to push it to this natural area of a pivot level, which is a prior resistance area that it came before and kind of sold off from. So we had some room between right here, the high of this candle, and this pivot. So the high of this candle, the entry was supposed to be around 2108. So I like it to break the whole number with some tolerance there. So I always look, between. I've never put it like exactly at a whole number. You always look or see that my choices of price entries are usually a few cents above the whole number. So it would be like 2105, 2107, 2108. And the reason is just to make sure that it doesn't pop and then pull back significantly. I want it to pop, pull back, and then come back. If it comes back and breaks the 5, 6, 7, 8 level, then it means it's really, buyers are serious to push it higher. So in this case, just because it was coming from a lot of momentum, I was fearful that it would break 21 level and maybe 2110, but then pull back very quickly. So as soon as the market opened, this thing hit my launch price and just kept going and kept going. And it stalled a few times along the way. So if I look at the 5-minute chart, I can show you here. It just kept going, and it hit the profit target within the first 5 to 10 minutes. Along the way, I wasn't sure what it was going to do, and I just took my profit really early at the 2148 level instead of 2162, which it eventually reached and even broke higher and crossed the whole dollar. So it made 2237 was the high today. Could have made a lot of profit on this one had I held, but I didn't want to risk it on Friday with a stock that has moved so strongly the last few days and was due for a pullback. So that kind of was the idea. I mean, like I said, I'm being very conservative just because I'm starting this challenge and the market hasn't been the most confident, not providing the most confidence. Plus the fact that we were in a choppy week anyway. We came off of 2 days on the SPY sell-off. So, I didn't want to just overstay my welcome. So took the profit. Yeah, could have made more. Of course, I could have made more. This thing kind of found a lot of sellers now right at this pivot. So believe it or not, these things, the chart says wonders there. So right at 2237, it found sellers. Now, whether it pulls back a couple of days and then resumes its upward momentum, that's very possible. So I'll just keep it kind of on the watch list for a long time, for a while. But I did not take this in my 401k, but I think it needs some kind of a pullback, maybe at least retest the 200-day moving average before it moves even further. All right, so these were the winners. Now the two losers I want to talk about are MOD and GMS, and I'm frustrated about them. Yeah, they were losses. I kind of stuck to the plan, but they were both actually presented winning opportunities had I taken my profit. So MOD was one of the stocks that came on the launch list for February 4th. This came here on the 4th based on the action on the 1st. So on the 1st, it had touched its 200-day moving average. Obviously, after all this buying, it came out of earnings very strong, above average volume, punched through 200-day moving average, and then closed right around the 200-day moving average. So that's usually a bullish sign. That means that there's still maybe potential momentum. People want to push it across the 200-day moving average and test. And that's some of the opportunities I try to look for. So the natural selection for me was to, a break of the high of this day with some level of tolerance above the 200-day moving average with a potential to reach to 1623 area. The goal there was actually to take at 1615. Now, 1615 presents what? Presents this prior all the way back here, sort of a level here where there was a lot of consolidation before this sell-off. So that was naturally another level of resistance. So I had a good window, the 200-day moving average through that 1615. So around 1572 to 1650. Now, what happened? What transpired? It never launched until the 6th. So on February 6th, it launched, and it launched at 1569. So this was Wednesday. It touched the launch price. I entered, and then what did it do? It pulled back a little bit, and then the next day it sold off. It gave me actually a little bit of potential taking profit at 1590 if I had wanted to, which is, again, this is the Thursday where I wasn't able to trade in the morning, and that's where it opened with a gap up and then just sold off the rest of the day. Now, I really didn't expect it to violate its 200-day moving average, and was kind of quite surprised that it did, but it also broke my my abort price. So I ended up taking the loss. I gave it maybe, I think, 4 or 5 cents below my abort price, just to see if it would rebound off the blue line, and it kind of did, but I just didn't want to risk it, so I sold. Next day, luckily, that was the right decision. Next day, tried to test again 200-day moving average and pulled back down. So it is found support at the 9-day moving average, and it closed way above it on Friday. I did buy it in my 401k, so I'm kind of holding on to maybe shares there at least through this pivot level here, and as a stop loss at 14.25. Other than that, I think it might want to retest the 200-day moving average and push higher. So that was my first loser. And then the second loser was GMS. And GMS also had provided me with a good... So this one was my second stock that I traded on the first day of the challenge. So on Tuesday, it came on the launch list on Tuesday based on this price action. We broke this level here, which was a former resistance, curled down, touched through it, and then it broke. So, and it kept consolidating. Based on this price action here, 2 days of above average volume. I think there was a lot of institutional buyers that came in this stock. So it came on my launch list to break above this daily candle with some conviction. So at 2014, again, because it was closer to 1993, I don't like to wait, like I said, breaking the whole number. I wanted to break the whole number and above some. So the idea was to enter at $20.16 and push to $20.75. So $25.75, which is kind of above this level here, right here. So this is a prior kind of consolidation area before this last breakdown. So somewhere around this area here was my profit target right there. Now, what happened? GMS launched, hit the trigger price, made all the way to 2050. So that was about 25 cents shy of my profit target. Could have taken profit that day, but I felt more strong about the stock, and I didn't. So what ended up is it sold off, fell below my entry price, and then the next day it hit the abort price. So I believe I had to exit this on the 6th. So yeah, so the following day it hit the abort price, and even gave it a little bit of wiggle. 4 cents basically. 1966, I ended up coming out with a loss, and then it sold off again. So again, this is another stock that I bought in my 401k. So I'm holding the stock. I think I entered somewhere around 1980, 1970, something like that, and then it's still showing some support. I think if it breaks this kind of 1860 level or so, probably will stop out of it. Otherwise, I'm holding it for maybe a few days, a few weeks. So the stock, something is strong, getting strong about the stock, and I want to hold on to it more. All right, so that is pretty much the summary for the launch list this week, the weekly recap. I do want to, let's see what else we have, just kind of show you the very first statistics card for the challenge as of the end of February 8th. 6 launches, 66.7 accuracy, and the overall profit to loss is 75.87. Our maximum profit per share was 52 cents. Our maximum loss per share was 50 cents. Overall profit per share is about 0.61, and the overall profit factor is 1.86. The average number of shares per launch was 970, which is close to my target of 1,000 shares. Now, I told you that every stock will have its different setup, so the stop loss will vary. It could be, as high as 50 to 60 cents or even $1 if the setup warrants it. But I'm averaging about 40 cents of a stop loss, for 39.40 cents, which puts me about 1,000 shares per trade. All right, with that, I wish you guys have the rest of the weekend a great weekend. I do not have any good candidates for Monday on the launch list, so I won't be publishing a launch list for tomorrow, but I might share some interesting setups on StockTwits just for you to review. But anyway, have a great weekend, guys, and we'll talk to you later.